So hi guys, so let's start the session. Okay. So we will see practically. Okay, so we'll see practically how to work with this grid. So as I told you yesterday, so here the SOA development and BPM development so will be done using Business Studio. Okay, the SOA development and the BPM development so will be done using Business Studio. So when you install the product, okay, when you install the product, so you will get, the Business Studio will be installed. Okay, so I'm going to start the Business Studio. Okay, the studio for designers. So okay, so I'll be starting this. So when you install Service Grid or when you install BPM, so you will be having the Business Studio version you will have. So you just need to start the studio for designers. Okay, so start studio for designers. So you'll have to specify some workspace. So so this is the Business Studio for SOA as well as BPM development. Okay. So first time when you open the Business Studio, okay, first time when you open the Business Studio, so you have to enable the SOA extensions feature. So go there and select this SOA platform extension. Okay, so select this SOA platform extension. Okay. And then, so one more change also you have to make. So especially if you're working with mediations. So that is, so go to Windows, Preferences, and here you will be having the SOA platform. Okay, SOA platform and mediation implementation type. So there, the icons will be very small. Okay, the mediation icons will be very small. So we will, select these large icons. Okay, so select these large icons, so then it will be fine. Okay, so select the large icons option. Okay, so when you're developing any mediation applications, it will be proper. Okay. So that's it. Now, so let's create one SOA application. So go to File, New. So I have, as I told you, when you install BPM, you can develop the SOA applications also. So this is my BPM Edition. Okay, this is my BPM Edition. So that's why I am having the business, the BPM development also I am having. Okay, so right now we are not touching BPM part, so we are dealing with only the server part. Okay, so select the option TIBCO server resources. Okay, TIBCO server resources, and select server project. So we are creating one server project. Okay, so these are all part of your server project only. The composite, the distribution, custom features, target platform. So these are all part of server development only. So yesterday I have told you what is custom feature. Composites we have discussed. Okay, now so select next and just give some name for it. So okay, now so select next. So the server platform is automatically selected. So nothing else we require as of now. Okay, so the default selection is enough for us. Okay, the default selection is enough for us. So select next. And these are the templates. Okay, so you can create basic server project. So project, server project from Visual file, empty server project and all. So since first time we are doing this, we will use the empty server project. Okay, so we'll use empty server project. But once you are familiar with this, composite application development, so better option will be other ones. You will have it will provide you so options of promoted services, references, and all those stuff. Okay, so but to learn initial things, so you better select empty server project. So select that. Okay, select that next. That's all. Now here, so you will be having these folders. So as the name suggests, all the mediations will be stored into these mediation folders. Okay, the mediations will be stored into the mediations folder. And yesterday I have told you about deployment artifacts like DAF file, distributed deployment archives. So they will be stored into these deployment artifacts. XML schemas and WSDL files will be stored into the service descriptors folder. And the HTTP connections, JDBC connections, identities will be stored into the resource template section. Okay, so like this, everything will be stored into their respective folders. Okay, so just finished off. Now this is the composite editor. Okay, so this is the composite editor. Now the root of any SYA project. Okay, the root of any SYA project is composite. Okay, the root of any SYA project is composite. So not only for SYA, even for BPM also. So whatever you develop, okay, whatever you develop, so it will automatically convert them into composite only. So internally, it will be in the form of composite only. Okay, internally, it will be in the form of composite only. The root of server project is composite. So one server project can have n number of composites. Okay, there is a limit that one project should have only one composite. So one project can have a number of composites. Okay, it can have a number of composites. Okay, So here, as I have mentioned already, in SOA, the development will be always from WSDL file. Okay, so you must, when you are doing the development, so the development should be always starting from WSDL files. So you will be having two types of SOA developments. Okay, you'll be having the two types of the SOA project development. So one is top down. Okay, one is top down and the second one is bottom up. Okay, one is top down and the second one is bottom up approach. Okay, so when you're using top down approach, so what exactly you will be doing is, first you design the specification. Okay, first you design the specification. So then implementation will be done. Okay, first you design the specification, then you do the implementation. So designing specification means, so you will specify, so you will outline. Okay, you will outline what services you will be providing or what services you are supposed to offer. And then, so based on that, so you want to design. So in order to implement this particular service, which system we require or which application we require in order to implement this function, so and so functionality. So like that, first you design the specification, so then you do the implementation. But in the case of bottom up, okay, in the case of bottom up, so you already have existing functionality. Okay, you already have existing functionality. Okay, you already have existing functionality. Somewhere you have the functionality, like you may be having the functionality in the form of database stored procedures, or you may be having the functionality in the form of the SAP, the business objects and all those stuff. So you already have very strong functionality you already have. But all you want to do is you want that those functionalities to be used in the new integration platform. Okay, you want that those existing functionality should be used into the new integration platform, and that functionality should be available over internet. Okay, so whatever system functionality you have, so you want that, so that should be reused in the new integration platform, and that should be available over the internet. So you will be having existing legacy functionality. So then you will outline, okay, you will outline the services, and then you will design interface. Okay, he will design interfaces. Okay, so which means WSDL. You will design interfaces. So that's what you call as bottom up. So you have already functionality, and so from that functionality, as I said, you want that the functionality should be reusable across multiple types of applications, and that should be available over internet. So you're going to take that functionality. So from that you're going to outline. So what services will be required from so and so system, and how to compose those services. Okay, how to compose those services, and then based on after that you're going to design the WSDL file. So these are the two approaches you have, top down and bottom up. Okay, so since we have nothing right now, since we don't have anything, so we will be following top down approach. Okay, so but if you want to have maximum reusability, okay, if you want to have maximum reusability of your enterprise applications, always you will be following bottom up. Okay, always you'll be having bottom up. So let's say for example you have some EAA projects. Okay, you're having some EAA projects, and those EAA projects, okay, those EAA projects you want to migrate them into SOA platform. Okay, you want to migrate them into SOA platform. So you're not going to entirely replace your existing features. So it will be gradual upgrade path it will be. So in that case the approach will be bottom up. Okay, in that case the approach will be bottom up. So 60% of SOA projects, okay, 60% of SOA projects always they will be bottom up, and 40% will be brand new solutions. Okay, now so first we have to create a WSDL file. Okay, we have to create a WSDL file. Now so we will see how to create WSDL file in Eclipse environment. So you have to create an XML schema. So based on that you're going to create the WSDL file. Okay, so once you have the WSDL file, you will implement the functionality by using these options, by using web application or composite application, Java application or mediation application. But if you see here, so few things are missing. One is C# and other one is C++. So you have to install them separately. Okay, you'll have to install them separately, then you will get those features also. And even Spring is also missing. Okay, so you need to install them, then you will get them here. Okay, and these are the references and services. Service, provider role, reference, client role. Okay, now so let's create the WSDL file. So first I'm going to create an XML schema. Go to service descriptors. So new other. So I'm going to create XML file. Okay, so I'm going to create XML schema file. Okay, so select next. So I'm going to give a name for it. Okay, so that's my schema. So this is the XML schema editor in Eclipse. Okay, so it's very easy even when you compare with the BW schema development also. So first here you have to develop types. Okay, you have to develop types here. Okay, so you have to create types. So let's create types. So right click, add complex type. Okay, add complex type. So I need 3 of them. So I will add 3 complex types. Okay, now so I'm going to name them. Okay, so these are my 3 types. So these are the types. Okay, so based on these types, so we will be creating elements. So that's how generally the schema configuration will be. So always they will be creating types. Okay, they'll be creating types. So based on the types, okay, based on the types, elements will be created. Okay, based on the types, elements will be created. Okay, so elements added. Okay, now, so from these elements, you will be referring these types. Okay, from the elements, you will be referring the types. Okay, so select request, and so right now the type is set to string. We're not going to use the primitive types for the elements. Instead, we will be using complex types. Okay, select loan request. Okay, now so select the next one, response. Okay, click on browse, and I will be selecting loan response type. Okay, so I'll be selecting the loan response type. Fault. So I'll go to type. So I'll select browse, and then I will select the next one, loan fault. Okay, loan fault type, I'm selecting. Okay. Now, so now the elements have been configured, but so you have to specify what exactly the request type will be having, the response type will be having, and fault type will be having. So these three we need to configure. So these are the complex types. So complex types will be, what exactly complex types will be having? They will be having child elements. Okay, the complex types will be having elements. So which are nothing but child elements. The child elements you want to specify in sequence. Okay, in sequence you will be specifying the child elements. Okay, so that's why, so first you have to define the sequence. Okay, first you have to create the sequence. So I'm going to configure loan fault type first. So go there and select add sequence. Okay, select add sequence. So when you select the add sequence, you will jump to this editor. Okay, it comes to this editor, and then so here you will be adding the element names. So there I'm having the fault type. So I'm going to right click on this line. So right click on that sequence, add element. So I'm going to add two elements, add element. Now, so I'm going to specify fault reason. And I'll specify fault code. So you can see, right, it is showing the minimum occurrence and maximum occurrence as 1. Okay, it is showing minimum and maximum occurrence as well. So which means it is stating that these fields are mandatory. Okay, it is stating that the fields are mandatory. So I don't want to make them as mandatory. So I'm going to make them optional. So I'll specify the minimum occurrence as 0. So which means they will become optional. So specifying 0 is nothing but specifying the question mark symbol in BW. Okay. For reason I'll set it as 0. Okay. So I'm going to configure other two types. So in order to access them, I'm going to click on this tab. So when you click on this, so you'll go to the schema editor, the main editor you will shift to. Okay. Now, so select loan request type. Okay, select loan request type. So right click, add sequence. Okay, select add sequence. And then add the elements. I will add a couple of elements. Okay, so these are my elements. So I'm not going to make all of them as mandatory. I will make them as optional. Okay, now so I'm going to configure now the next one, response type. Then I have response, so right click, add sequence. Okay, add sequence. So I click on it and add element. I'll add couple of elements here. So I'll make them optional. Okay, so this is the schema that we have configured. So I'm going to specify namespace for this. Okay, so I'm going to configure namespace for this. Okay, now I'm going to create visual file. Okay, I'm going to create visual file. So service descriptors, it's a new visual file. So we don't require to create concrete visual, we need to create abstract visual. Okay, we need to create abstract visual. Okay, so go to service descriptors and select this visual. Then okay, so I'm going to create everything manually. Okay, I'm going to create everything manually, so that's why okay, so I'm going to deselect this option, create WSDL skeleton. So I'm going to deselect that option. Okay, and then I'm going to specify the target namespace there. So I'm going to use the same thing, sans types. So I'm going to set the prefix. I'll just give some prefix and then finish. Okay, now, so if you want to create visual file, okay, if you want to create visual file, the best thing is you use the option outline. Okay, use the option outline for populating your visual file. Okay, use the option outline for populating your visual file. Okay, now, so there I am having the outline section. So you select the visual file and then you select this outline section. Okay, select the outline section. So first we have to import that schema. Okay, we have to import that schema. So go to imports and select add import. Okay, select add import. And then so go to location, click on browse, and from your project service descriptors select loan schema. Okay, select loan schema. Okay, okay, select that schema. Now, so now the schema has been imported. Now based on that we can create messages. Okay, based on that we can create messages. So I am going to create messages. So go to messages, add message. You can see messages added. So like that I will add 2 more messages. Okay, so I'm going to get the message name, Okay, so request message, response message, and fault message. So what exactly this message should have? So these messages are supposed to refer the schema elements that you have configured. Okay, so that's why, so expand the request message and select that new part. Okay, select the option new part and reference kind, I'm going to select element. Okay, I'm going to select element instead of type. And I'll click on browse. So it is showing current resource. So currently there is nothing in this editor. So I will switch to workspace. When I switch to workspace, then it will show me that schema element. Okay, it will show me the schema elements. So switch to workspace and select the schema element. Which is loan request. Okay, now. So I'm going to give the same name as the top message. Now, so go to response message and select new part. So response message, and then so I'm going to select element, browse workspace, and select response. Okay, select response. Now select the third one. Okay, now so select element, browse workspace, loan font, and okay. And specify the path. Okay, fault message. Okay, so messages have been configured. So the next we need to configure the port type. Okay, we need to configure the port type, so which is nothing but interface. Okay, now port type configurations is very different here. Okay, now when you're creating WSDL, you have to understand. Okay, you have to understand whether the WSDL files will be used in SOA. Okay, in SOA, or whether you will be using normal web services. Okay, so first you need to know how exactly you will be using the services, whether the services will be created or services will be used in SOA platform, or whether they will be used as a web services. Now there is a difference between the SOA services and web services. So even though the SOA is based on web services, but the web services, creation will be different here. So because the services that you create in composites or in SOA, okay, the services that you create in composites or SOA, so they will be actually called as business services. Okay, they will be called as business services, or they're also called as orchestration services. Okay, they're also called as orchestration process or business services, they're called as. So what exactly is a business service? Business service is also a web service. Okay, business service is also a web service. But what exactly it will do is, it will provide only one task. Okay, it will provide solutions for one task. But in order to provide solutions for that one task, it will be calling a number of services. Okay, a business service is nothing but one task implementation. Okay, business service is nothing but one task implementation. But in order to implement that task, it will be calling n number of services. It will be calling. Okay, it will be calling n number of services. Now, for example, loan request is there. So the composite, this particular composite that we are creating, its main goal is accepting loan requests. Okay, its main task is accepting loan requests, not any other task. So, but in order to complete or in order to process that loan request, it will be calling so many web services. Okay, so web service is an atomic unit. Okay, web service is atomic unit. It will only be having one set of functionality. Okay, web service will be having only one atomic functionality it will be having. So, but whereas the business service, okay, whereas the business service, it is a composition of multiple web services. Okay, it is a composition of multiple web services. So that's why while creating visual files for the SOA applications, okay, while creating visual files for the SOA application, generally what you do is you're going to configure one operation for one port type. Okay, you'll configure one operation for one port type. But if you are configuring, if you are creating visual file for normal web services, under one port type, you will have so many operations. Okay, under one port type, you will be having hundreds of operations. But in terms of SOA, okay, in the case of SOA, so one port type is supposed to have only one operation, because the thing in SOA is whenever you refer a port type, okay, whenever you refer a port type or whenever you refer an interface, whatever operations are there in that interface, okay, whatever operations are there in that interface, all operations you have to implement. Okay, so whatever number of operations you have in the port type, all the operations you must implement. So think that you have created one port type, in that 20 services you have specified. Okay, you have specified 20 services under one port type. So whatever component you configure, okay, whatever component you configure, that one component has to implement all the web service operations. Okay, it has to implement all the web service operations, but generally, so each service will be handled by a different component. So for example, if the customer is asking for, like, you know, he's sending, let's say he's sending request for some, you know, new account. So it's an account opening process. So you'll update few databases, systems you will update. Okay, you'll update few databases and systems. Now, so let's say customer wants to, he wants to transfer money. Okay, he wants to transfer money. So the transfer money operation is completely different from creating account. So for doing money transfer, you will be having separate application which takes care of that. And account creation is taken care by somebody else, some other component. So, but if you configure both the operations are in one port type, so one component only has to implement both the operations. So lots of problems they will be coming across. So the best design practice is when you are creating visual file for your SOA application, so you think in terms of business service. Okay, you think in terms of business service, and based on that you configure the visual files. So when I say business service, which means I will be having one port type, and that port type will be having one operation. Okay, so same guidelines I will be following. So I am going to create one port type and one operation I am going to specify in that. So I will configure multiple port types. Okay, I am going to configure multiple port types now. So we will take one simple case we will take. So that case is, it is pretty standard one. There is nothing new in that. So frequently come across this kind of case. Okay, if the loan amount is less than 25,000, auto approve that loan. Okay, it should be auto approved. Else it requires manual approval. Okay, so send the request to manual approval. Now, so this is a requirement. So here, so two types of tasks you have here. So even though the main task is, accepting loan request, so within that task you have two subtasks. So if the loan amount is less than 25,000, you will be it's set to auto approve. But otherwise, it will be set to you have to send it for manual approval. So since you are saying that it is auto approved, so the operation will be completed faster. Since operation will be completed faster, so the communication or invocation type will be synchronous. So for the first one, we will be defining synchronous operation. Okay, for the first one, we will be defining synchronous operation. And for the second one, so it's a longer process. It's a lengthy process it is, or it will be long running process, because you are sending it for manual approval. So when you say manual approval, so it's going to take a lot of time, maybe 1 day or maybe 2 days. So that's why you're going to configure them in one-way mode. Okay, you'll configure them in one-way mode. So one for sending the request. Okay, one for sending the request to the human task. And later on, you should know how to take the response which is entered by that human. Okay, so first you will be sending request to that user, bank employee. He is going to take a lot of time to complete. So once you complete that, so you should know how to take the response from him. So you need to create multiple port types. You need to create here. Okay, you need to create multiple port types. Okay, so let's configure port types. So I will configure one port type here. Okay, add port type. So I'm going to give names for them. Okay, so accept loan sync PT. So I will configure one operation for that. Okay, so I'm going to refer the messages that we have configured. I'll go there and I will select request message. The same name, I'm going to use it here. And select the response message. So there you have icons. You select the corresponding icon. Response message. Okay, so I will add fault element to that. So I'm going to right click on operation and I will select add fault. So only for synchronous operations or request response operations, you will be configuring faults. Okay, but for one-way operations, you cannot configure faults. So I'll select add fault here. Then I'm having fault message. And I will name it as fault message. Okay, now, so one synchronous operation we have configured. Now, so I'm going to configure, now I'm going to configure asynchronous operations. So I'll go to port, I will select add port. And then I'm going to give a name for it. Okay, so view port type, so I will specify here. Okay, so that's my port type. And so this is my manual operation. And this is only one way. Okay, this is only one way. So I'm going to remove the response message. Okay, I'm going to remove the response message. The output I'm going to remove. Okay, now, so for that, so I will refer the same request message. Okay, now, so this is to send the request for the manual approval system, which means BPM application. So the BPM application will process the request and it will send you the response. So you should know how to take the response which is coming from the BPM application. So go to port type and I will add one port type. And I will name for this. Okay, so this also will be having one operation only. So select the operation, name it, and so we're not going to have any response. It's only one way. So I will delete the response part. But what request you will be getting? You will be getting the request as response message. Okay, you'll be getting the request as response message. Okay, so Okay, so this completes our WSDL creation. So many, unnecessary messages will be added. So I'm going to delete all of them. So we don't need these all messages. Okay, so we have configured our schema, and this is our WSDL file. Okay, so this is our WSDL file, and this is our schema file. Okay, this is our schema file. Okay, so now we have the basic, WSDL files we have, and schema files we have. So using them, you will have to implement the logic. Okay, using them, you have to implement the logic. Okay, so how do you implement business logic here? By using the components. Okay, by using these components, you will be implementing the business logic. Okay, so how to work with these components, we'll see in the next class. Okay, so this we'll see in the next class. Okay.
I have one doubt, Srini. Really? Hello?
Okay guys, so we'll meet tomorrow.
Srini? Srini? Hello? Srini, are you able to hear? Srini?
So bye Harsha, SK.
Hello?
No, I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Harsha.
Srini?
See, concrete WSDL. See, concrete WSDL will be used for web service client. Okay, so abstract WSDL will be for service provider. So when you are developing when you are developing composite applications, you require abstract WSDL. But when you want to offer the same to the client, you have to create concrete WSDL. Not fully, but few things are there. I will provide you those things. Okay. So okay, SK, Harsha, we'll meet tomorrow. I can't hear you. I can't hear both of you.
Hello?
Okay guys, bye for now.
బాగుంది ఈరోజు బిఎస్ఆర్ వీడియో అవి డెమో సెషన్స్ అలా నేను ఈరోజు ప్రాక్టికల్ స్టార్ట్ అయింది. జబర్దస్త్ సార్ వేరేదా హాయ్ వస్తా రేపు తెచ్చుకున్నాను ఓపెన్ చేయట్లేదు మేడం.